Yeah.
No, so going back to that, we got really busy, so we shelved the project, right? And it's a natural thing to do in production. You work on a project, you shelve it, and you come back. Just like Rift was based on a script called Brother, which we shelved, and we brought it back when the right opportunity came. So I was at GDC, the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco, in March, and I sat in the big epic presentation, and a rumor erupted when they announced UEFN, which is Unreal Editor for Fortnite. And I'm like, wow, what is this thing? And then, this is Fortnite. What's the excitement?
Yeah.
And then when I saw the demo that they've done, I'm like, this don't look like Fortnite, but it feels like Fortnite. What is this? And I go, oh, you as an Unreal Engine creator, you can bring your stuff into Fortnite and create your own experiences. I'm like, wow, okay. But then it got even better. You can monetize from your content. And the split is like 80-20, I think. I mean, it's more favorable towards the creator. I'm like, okay, that's a big win. But lastly, the user base is 500 million plus. So as a company who sole purpose is creating original IP and tapping into the user base, what better way to test your IP than the existing 500 million plus user base?
Got all those eyes on it straight away. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
So I came back. I said to the team, "Oh, we got to do something in UFN." They're like, "Oh, I don't know, like maybe." So I spent all my weekends making something in UFN. I made a level, and then one day I said, "Hey, everyone, jump on! We're going to do a Fortnite game, and we're gonna play a game of Fortnite." Everyone's like, "Okay, it's weird that the boss wants to play Fortnite with us." So we end up playing Fortnite, and they're like, "This is a cool level. We've never seen this before. This is more Fortnite maps." I'm like, "No, I made that. This is very, very rough." And then Sam was like, "All right, I'm going to come on and help you lighten the level." And then Miles like, "I'll come on and help you animation." And Ryan's like, "Let me come
Everyone's in.
Everyone's in all of a sudden. And that's a good example. You could choose to prototype something very quickly and pitch it to whether it's your team, to your financiers, to people. It's a great prototyping tool. So we decided we're going to do something, but what we decided to do was we had to create something that felt original IP. We didn't want to make it like an island demo or something that was very quick, like you have existing Fortnite games. And that's the thing about, you've got to remember, Fortnite games back in the day, like last year, was only can be done using creator mode, which is the existing Fortnite asset. So all of the Fortnite islands last year looked the same. Whereas now we're an opportunity to create something that looks fresh. And there's some amazing work coming out from other Unreal Engine artists using UEFN, which is phenomenal. So we decided, let's just take MoonTopia, which we had done a trailer and showed at Annecy last year, take that, move the Unreal Engine project into like the monsters and the astronauts and everything, the moon base, move that into UEFN and make a game out of that. And the plot would be exactly like it would be in the movie. You crash land, you got X amount of time to find the nearest spaceship in MoonTopia, also if you run out of oxygen, you die. Oh, and there's a bunch of aliens that's going to rip you to pieces.
No pressure. Yeah.
So we realized, oh my God, this would make a great Fortnite game, because not only is it great as a solo game, but it's also great to play as teams, but also very competitive. Who's going to get to the ship first? Who's going to get the biggest pickups, all the keys and so on? It became so fun. So we spent a month kind of learning UEFN. And just for those who are not familiar with UEFN is basically Unreal Engine 5.1 light. So it's Unreal Engine 5 ripped out with a lot of stuff and has kept the stuff that you need to do stuff.
To make something.
Which is still quite a lot. And so obviously a lot of stuff we had done in Unreal Engine 5 broke, like some of our animation tools broke, some of our particles, but that's okay, because we don't have to design a game engine or game mechanics. We just utilize Fortnite game mechanics. We just need to focus on getting our stuff in. The thing I do have to say, though, is making a UEFN game, a Fortnite game, really reminded me of making games on the PS2 days. When I mean that, not look-wise, more the memory management. You only have 400 megabytes for your entire game. That includes audio, CG assets, everything.
That's crazy to me. Like, that is tiny.
It's tiny, but you know why? I spoke to someone at Epic about it, and they said, well, the reason we have that limit is to make sure that every game has the same amount of memory, so that no one's hogging someone else's bandwidth space or memory space. Everyone's on the same playing field, which I thought was very, very cool idea. It reminded me really, like, how do you take something small to make it feel big? And, back in the day on the PS2 days, I had like a texture map, like one square texture map, like 128 pixels by 128. All of like the wheels and the door, all on one map, and then you kind of UV map that onto your geometry to make it look good. And my geometry was only like a couple of polygons, right? Now we have we have Unreal Engine 5, and our maps can only be 2K. which
Yeah.
is big, but like to a lot of other developers, like, you know, like I remember Sam was like, dude, 2K, man, that's low, dude. I'm like, dude, try 128 by 128 back in the day. So it really allowed us to optimize, allowed us to be very smart with how do we make something look amazing or cool with very low memory management and resources. And
Yeah.
also, it's got to hit the frame rate. You got to make sure you hit 60 frames per second. Anything lower, the Fortnite players, you know, and we spent a lot of time watching Fortnite players play on the
Yeah.
videos and the replays, playing against other people. They're flying everywhere, man. They're flying around, shooting,
Yeah.
and all sorts of stuff. Any lag, they're going to be pretty peed off. So you have to
Yes.
really understand that.
You don't want a load of stuff kind of loading in all at once, just making the game
Oh,
chug. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
So we end up spending about 3 months making this game. And I think that the thing that took the longest was testing. So here's the thing:
Hmm.
we're making a console game at the moment, like I said earlier, like Max Beyond, for you know, on the Xbox consoles and so
Yeah.
on. And when you do that, when you do your code, you do your scene, and you press play, and you play it locally to test it, right? On a Fortnite game, it's not like that. If you want to play test it, like you put a new monster in, okay, I want to test this, see if this works. You have to upload it to a private server. And in between loading to a private server, you got to run past all these validation checks by Epic validation check, memory management validation check. And it's like a red meter. If you go past, or yellow meter, if you go past the yellow meter, we will not upload. That's a whole different mindset, dude. A whole
Wow.
different mindset to making a game. Oh, yeah.
So you don't have the luxury of just kind of throwing it in there and messing with it and playing with it. You have to kind of make sure it's stable and running well before you're even allowed to test it. Yeah.
Correct. It has to run on a server. It has to run within a bandwidth, which I think is a very, very cool thing when I think about it now. At the time, I'm like, oh my God. But now I'm like, I'm glad it's like that, because now I know that if you play it or someone else plays it,
Hmm.
it's going to be as expected. Whereas if you
Yeah.
make something locally, you're not sure that's going to run online very well. Like, what's the
Yeah.
bandwidth? You know, someone could be playing on their phone, for example, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and there's so many different devices now. I mean, there's a huge difference between even a Nintendo Switch and a Xbox. Like yeah. So yeah, it makes sense that they restrict so that everything is kind of more
Yeah,
playable and uniform no matter where in the world you are and no matter what you're playing it on. Makes
totally,
sense.
totally.
Yeah. Yeah. And so going from again, we keep kind of going full circle. So MoonTopia, I know I've seen other stuff where you did some work for other companies and it was kind of VR based.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it was
Xlantis. Yeah.
Exlanta,
Xlantis.
and
Yeah.
Xmana, Xlantis. Sorry,
Yeah. So
and
X-Man is the company is that
yes,
owns Xlantis. Like they're the
they like
production.
X's,
They do
and
like X's, don't
make
they?
up words. But yeah, and again, saw some trailers of that. Looked very much like kind of a metaverse thing and VR involvement. Have you interest in maybe branching out, getting some VR stuff?
I mean, I could say the safe thing because I can see the VR headsets behind you. I mean, I
Yeah,
love VR.
yeah,
I have
yeah.
an Oculus Rift, and you know, an Oculus Quest, and I play pistol whip like I'm freaking John Wick. I
Yes,
freaking love
yes.
that game. It's amazing. So yeah, and you know, true story. We actually have a very rough VR demo of MoonTopia. So last year we were
Wow.
going to take it from animated show to a VR game. So we were looking at ways of having multiple verticals, and that's the other thing, dude. Like transmedia, everything we do is transmedia because we
Yeah,
build it once and we end up like we made an animated film
yeah,
called Rift. We made a video game. We could do a comic book, and we could do that in MoonTopia. MoonTopia was an animated TV show tested in VR, and we're like, oh, that's a whole different minefield doing VR games. A whole different. It's so different, fun but different. We didn't have the skill set to really do a good VR game
yeah,
justice, and now we're doing a UEFN game. But yeah, Xlantis is an interesting one because it's a company called X Mana, which is like an esports company that reached
hmm
out to us and said, hey, look, man, we saw some of the Unreal Engine cinematics you're doing. We love that. You know, we're a Web3 company. We're doing NFTs and stuff. And those words at the time, I'm like, oh God, no. We don't do NFTs. I don't deal with crypto. I don't have
yeah,
Bitcoin, dude. Like, no, I don't. Blockchain, what? And they're like, no. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We just want your creative magic. We want what you guys do well, which is tell stories. And we've got this story about we have a pitch deck. We don't have a product. And we need
yeah,
to show people stuff because we raised money. So we're like, okay, great. So we end up doing like a 2.5 minute trailer video showing what the future of the metaverse could be. Very
yeah,
much like Ready Player One-esque, right? Because at the time, the only reference was Ready Player One. So we
yeah,
were essentially creating the next reference for people to look at, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
We did it and it came back. Everyone's like, oh my God, we loved it. We loved it. Can we do like a couple of more videos? I'm like, sure. I mean, this is great business for us. Our cinematics team is going to be super happy. But question, why are we pitching Web3? If I'm correct, Web3 is immersive interaction, an immersive experience of the internet. Why are we
Yeah.
pitching it in video and image, which is Web2? They're like, oh, what other way would you do it? I'm like, well, that trailer you really like? We actually did that entire trailer in Unreal Engine. They're like, really? We thought you did it like in Maya, Houdini, like proper traditional animation. That's why it looks so slick. I'm like, no. That's obviously it's rendered, but it was all rendered from a game engine. So technically, we can just plug a controller in, spend a few months moving it into a game environment.
Go in and play it. Yeah.
Play it. They're like, oh my God. They're like so happy, so supportive. And we end up prototyping it using the trailer assets. And we prototyped it. You can walk around, do some really cool stuff, interact. And I was showing this all on Zoom. They're like, oh my God, how do we play it? I'm like, okay, well, what PC do you have? Do you have like a NVIDIA RTX card? They're like, no, we just have phones and iPads. Because they're tech VC, they're tech guys, right? They're executives. They're like, we don't have gaming workstations. Like my son might have one, maybe. I'm like, oh man. Okay, so we have to find a way to get you guys to play this. And when we looked at the world of the metaverse, we realized the metaverse is designed for everyday people, not just gamers. Like my mom should be able to get her phone and just go to the web link and play it, right? Just like, and it's why when I'm on the tube and I see most people on their phone playing a game on a mobile. It's why mobile gaming is like phenomenally massive. It's a massive industry because everyone can. It's the ease
everyone
of access,
can do it,
right? The barrier to access is low. So we end up learning about pixel streaming, where you have an instance of Unreal Engine running on a Amazon web server, and then you send a link to the person, and they can play it on their phone. And they were like mind blown. They're like, oh my God. And we're like, this is actually pretty cool. Did we just make an MMO? And we're like, yeah, we just made an MMO. And that just grew us as a company to start really exploring the world of game dev. And now we just can't get enough of it.
And is it, again, so you're talking about big open worlds and things like that. Is that something you would hope you might scale up to in the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, the original plan was to go full scale on it, but as with everything in the world of Web3, it's a roller coaster goes up and it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. We were in a section when it was up. It's now very down. So there's been a massive pause on the production. Like X Mana are rethinking their strategy because the whole market is very volatile. It changes constantly. I mean, I'm not just talking about the world of crypto. I'm just talking about Web3 itself. Remember last year, everyone was talking about Web3. This year, not really much people talk about Web3.
Yeah,
talking about AI, right?
It's not a buzzword anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. So we put a pause on it. But the good thing is, most people that invested in the world of Web3, they've got tangible assets and money in that, and it's really hard for them to see that, and I really feel for them because they're like, oh my God. And I really hope Web3 takes off the way it should do, because it could really change the way we explore experiences and information. I think it's going to be great, but you don't need crypto to have Web3. I'm trying to tell people Web3 is Web3. It's not crypto.
It's almost like they're married. I mean, it's so I remember Decentraland was a big deal, but not so much anymore. But yeah, everything was like, well, if you want to sign up to it, you have to have a wallet, and you have to have a wallet, you have to have crypto. And it's like,
that's
what?
the problem.
What? And then as you said, people want ease of access. They want something on their phone that they can press a button. If you're telling me I have to sign up to crypto and sign up to a wallet just to go into a lobby, basically, no. That's the answer.
But I mean, but dude, that is why Fortnite works. This is why Fortnite. You download it for free.
Your 6-year-old niece can play it, kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. And if you want to go buy stuff, there's V-Bucks, but you don't have to spend any money. I mean, I haven't spent any money since playing Fortnite. Why should I, right? So I mean, but that's the point. So we put a pause on that, but it really allowed us as a team to really get our heads into the world of game development in that way. So in a way, Web3 for us was an entry into going back into game development, and that's why we end up making MoonTopia and Fortnite, because we had to build everything from scratch. All our NPCs had to be designed in a certain way, all our AI system had to be built in a way. We had to build pixel streaming solutions, all of that stuff. And then you go look at UEFN, it's like, oh, I don't have to think of that stuff. I can just focus.
It's all there.
Game design, exactly.
Well, speaking of, I did watch a video from Winbush, who was playing your game, and doesn't look like Fortnite. I mean that as a compliment.
Yes.
It's very it's got better lighting, better shading. You've got your own assets in there. You can see it's this kind, it's completely different. It's not this cartoony, green and blue.
Yeah.
And seeing those assets, seeing this kind of octopus kind of monsters kind of
Yeah.
crawling up the rocks, and you have to use the turret
Yeah.
guns to shoot them down and climbing up these base towers and things like that. I mean, it's just it's a thing of its own. It's um, but I don't know more than that. So I watched him play. He was playing solo. Are there other ways to play?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the first things when we decided to make MoonTopia was we wanted this to really embrace Fortnite's mechanics. Not the way it looks, but the mechanics. And mechanics is you have so much more fun when you're playing with your friends, whether it's
Yeah.
co-op mode, whether it's team-based mode, or whether it's competitive. And believe me, everyone at the company is competitive. So we're in competitive mode. And it's so much fun. So we're like, we want to have that. We want to have that. So you can play it solo and have a great experience fighting the aliens, seeing the story and everything, or you can play with a team of up to 6 people. Set up your own party match on a private server or a public server and play and just have fun. And it's still the same experience, except it's much more elevated when you got more people. And it's not a big map. We made it it's a very linear. So when you see the Wimbush video, and and again, I have to say, like, props to Jonathan Wimbush, man. Like, just a fact, when I was starting to learn Unreal, I watched Jonathan Wimbush's videos. That's how I learned Unreal. So
Yeah.
when he reached out to me and he goes, dude, like, huge fan of your work, like, I would love to, like, showcase MoonTopia. I'm like,
It's great.
I was super cool on the text. And I'm like, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
And I was like,
absolutely.
oh my
I'll
god,
think
he's
about it.
Jonathan.
I'll think about it.
But he's super cool. I met him in person at SIGGRAPH last year. Super cool. But I have to say this though, like, if it wasn't for people like Jonathan Wimbush, Matt Workman, William Fulcher, and there's a bunch of other people out there that just dedicate their times in between their day jobs to provide tutorials
Yeah.
and share their knowledge to the world, we wouldn't have like creators like myself and a bunch of other people that are doing amazing work in Unreal if it wasn't for
Yeah.
those people contributing. So, like, massive props out to those guys, man.
Yeah, fair play. Fair play. And the game itself, so again, we mentioned like not just solo, you can play with your
Yeah.
friends. I know it opens with kind of like a cinematic kind of, and I think it closes as well with a cinematic.
Okay.
So, I mean, is it story driven? Or, does it kind of guide you along the way? Will you always know what you're supposed to be doing?
Yeah, it's a really, really good question. And when we started doing UEFN, the original plan was to migrate the entire animated series
Yeah,
into UEFN. It was like, oh, we can tell a really good story, have a really good quest. And then the more you start to play Fortnite, the more you start to see other people play it, got time for like sit through Game of Thrones level story lore. I want to get on and play the game and collect as much ammo and just like get to the end and get the highest points, right? And
yeah.
get claim their rewards. So, but as a company that solely is driven by story,
Mm.
we create some cinematics. So we had an opening cinematic, and again, we originally had some text, and we removed that text. We're like, it has to be visual narrative because
Yeah.
this is Fortnite is the world. Everyone plays that. We don't want to have a language barrier. So
Hmm.
as a storyteller, it forced us to be very visual narrative to really tell that storytelling. And we kept it very short. You can see the ship crashing. You get it right to the point. Oh, okay, we're in a ship. We have to make it out. But also, we didn't also want to have so many like waypoints that you have in games saying go
Yeah.
over here, go over there, because
Arrows and checkpoints and all
right.
that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So Sam Rebello, our level designer who came on, he really took what I'd done and just made it way better. And he kind of created it in a way that it just felt natural. Like you just feel like you have to go here. There's a
Yeah.
big monster there. You feel like you have to go there. And that's just good level design. It's just kudos to Sam. And then we had Ryan Fleming, who's our dev coder, and Ernesto. They came in and really did stuff that I didn't think was possible to do in Fortnite, like optimization, making something that look very cinematic, crushing down the polygons to make it fit in a world of 400 meg and
Yeah.
video memory, and doing things like you may have seen in the video, like one of the things you have to do is there's these floating astronauts, and they're your crew members, and the monsters got them on like this sort of like energy tendrils, and you got to blast
Freedom.
the tower.
Mm.
Yeah, and you got to free them, but that's a mechanic that isn't in Fortnite.
Yeah.
we designed that. So we had to like use verse coding, which is a programming language inside of Fortnite, to create that. And so all of a sudden you're bringing the best of your team that are art, you're bringing the best of your code. And my job as the game director is like to kind of like remind them of the shitty version I did, and that we have to elevate. But the North Star has always been, how do we get out of Dodge, zip down the zip line, fight the monsters, collect all the keys, and jump in the ship to go home. One of the biggest inspiration, and I've used this on all of the promotional material on MoonTopia, you always see Earth. That's the thing that the minute, so in the when you start the game, you're inside the ship and the doors are busted, and you're looking out and you see Earth in the distance. And that is subconsciously that I've got to go home. And that was something I got inspired from Buzz Aldrin, the astronaut. You know, when he took that photograph on the moon of Earth, and it just reminds you, like, oh my God, you're on the moon, you're looking at Earth, like, that's home.
That's where I'm supposed to be. Yeah,
that's where I should be. What am I doing on the moon? Get me back on Earth. this zero gravity stuff. I ain't vibing. So, and that was the North Star for this whole film. Like, we got to get home, and what do we do? We have uncharted territory, the gravity, and that's the other thing. You know, that we end up playing with the gravity setting in Fortnite, and there's all kinds of bloopers we could show you, like of like people firing rockets and shooting straight up into space and never coming back down. So we had to balance the gravity to make it that people that like to jump around, and believe me, most of the Fortnite gamers like to jump around.
Of course.
Do it in a way that doesn't go too high, but enough to give it that sense of the floatiness. So there's a lot of R&D that required to do that. You can imagine the amount of times we uploaded on the server back and forth to do that.
Very good. I've got maybe 2 questions left.
Sure.
I was going to say 1, and I was going to lie to you, and then I was going to sneak an extra one in. I'll just say two. Just before we ask those questions, just for the listeners and viewers at home, if you like this sort of content, if you like Outsider Gaming and you want to see more stuff like this, please hit like and subscribe. But more importantly, leave us some comments. Tell us what we're doing well. Tell us what we're not doing well. Tell us what you want to see, and we'll try and do it for you. 2 questions. So I have to ask a non-MoonTopia question. So, Katie Sackhoff, I am a total nerd. I love Star Wars. I love The Mandalorian. I think she's pretty much taken over that show in a good way. I bye Pedro. It's okay. She is absolutely killing it, and I hope it continues with her as the main role. It seems to be going that route. Also, like, I mean, outside of that, she's been in Battlestar Galactica. She's a massive star. What was it like having her as a star on your movie? And do you have any horror stories or any, anecdotes or anything nice to say?
She's a diva. No, absolutely. She's like, you couldn't be more further from that. She's like absolutely not a diva. She's actually a really good friend of mine. Actually, we've come like friends over the years and stuff. What's interesting, I mean, I could definitely share the story on what it was like speaking to her for the first time. I remember like my producers are like saying, we're going to get Katie Sackhoff to speak to you. We think she'd be great for the film. What do you think? I'm like, yeah, I mean, Katie Sackhoff's amazing. Oh my God. Like, well, I mean, let me prep some time to talk to her. Go, oh no, you're speaking to her tomorrow. Here's the Skype invite. I'm like, okay. And obviously, like you, love Battlestar Galactica, loved Pitch Black. She's like, badass, right? So she jumps on a call. Within 5 minutes, she's like, the whole star fame thing just goes out the window. She's like, just like me and you having a conversation, man. She loves sci-fi. She loves talking about this stuff in general, and it was really great. She really liked the script. But I remember, like, after the long jam, which was supposed to be 20 minutes, ended up being like an hour of just chatting on Skype. She was like, look, man, I'm just gonna ask you a question, like, why do you think I should do this movie? And I'm like, oh my God, this is the ultimate question, man. Like, if I F this up, there's no movie and my producers are going to be pissed. And I could do the usual thing like, well, this is going to be great for your career. It's going to put you on a map. But do I really want to say that? No. So I just spoke from my heart. I'm like, look, man, like, I'm going to be real honest with you. Huge fan of Battlestar Galactica. You played a badass in Starbuck. You played in Chronicles of Riddick. You played a badass. In fact, in your new sheriff show, she's gonna kill me for saying the new sheriff show. It's more than a sheriff show, but she plays a cop and she's a badass. In this movie, you're not a badass. You are a weak, vulnerable human being that's dealing with her inner demons to try and solve the mystery of the future of our planet. And the entire movie rests on your shoulder, just like Sam Rockwell in Moon. She's like taking a moment to process it. She's like, and I'm thinking maybe my Skype has lagged. I hope, because I might have balls this up. And she's like, I've never done any of these things, Haz. I'm like, and that's why you should do it. And I'm thinking,
Uh,
okay, I balls it up, right? I think like the next day or a few days later, I get a call from like her manager and yeah, she's in. Don't know what you said, but she's in. And yeah, and then
Brilliant.
from there, it was like we are prepping for the movie. Like every week, we'll jump on Skype. She'll go through script notes. I mean, it's essentially her movie. It's her carrying the show. So
Yeah.
I really wanted to work with an actor that was very collaborative, and I just could have asked for a better actor. Like I was not expecting it to be this level of collaboration because, like, before that, I'd made an independent movie, very
Yeah.
guerrilla. So this was like my first proper movie with a proper star. So I'm like, I didn't know what the cadence was like, how I should
Yeah.
be and stuff. And it just turned out, I didn't feel like, on the day of the shoot, we're sitting on the floor, like going through the scripts and stuff. And I didn't feel like it wasn't like a director actor relationship. It was like just two creators getting together to make something really cool. And I think that's the fondest memory I can get from working with Katie.
Yeah. It shows a passion. And like it
Yeah,
shows she's obviously believed in the project so much so that she wanted to influence and kind of,
totally.
make any
Oh, she did.
improvements. Yeah.
Absolutely, she did.
Amazing. Amazing. Brilliant. She wasn't horrible. That's good to
No.
know. The last thing I want to say, obviously the game has been out since the 28th. So I know we're going to leave links in the description as to how people can log on, but it's you basically put in a code if I'm right.
Yeah, so whether you're on the PlayStation, Xbox, Switch, PC, or Android, not the iPhone, obvious reasons why.
Yeah.
You just go to Discover, and then you just type in the code, and boom, you're off. In a few weeks' time, or maybe sooner, you may see MoonTopia pop up on the front page because they're going through that whole motions at the moment. So that may be a fine way for you to find it. But definitely enter the code. It's there's tons of trailers out for it, and just have fun playing it, man. Just play it, break it. I would love to see bloopers. I've seen a lot of TikTok videos of some
There's
bloopers.
bound
I
to
want
be.
to. Yeah, I love bloopers. So if you find a blooper, please record it, post it. Love that.
So aside from that, what's next? What's next for Moontopia in particular? Are
Well,
you
the
going to
plan.
do more?
Yeah, I mean, we had such a blast. I mean, yes, given how UEFN is a very beta software, so there's lots of bugs, there's lots of things being ironed out. It's not a perfect software. Things are going to break,
Yeah.
but on top of all that, though, we just had so much fun because, like, we didn't have to worry about mechanics or coding mechanics. We just made a game. So we want to expand that further. We have a bunch of ideas, but we want to see within 2 months what the metrics are like. So, like, if there's a lot of player retention, it's kind of like YouTube videos. The more viewers you
Of
get, the
course.
more it inspires you to make stuff, right? And so the more player retention we get, so all you players that play the game, the more player retention inspires us to, like, okay, let's spend a bit more time to expand the map. And obviously you can't like make multiple levels. It has to be one big island. So what we're going to do is, it's weird calling it an island because we're on the moon, but what we want to do is we want to take the players underneath the lunar landscape and see what the alien caves, a whole new interior design for that. We want to do a space elevator moment. We want to have more puzzle based stuff.
Yeah.
So the idea is the map will still be the same. So for those who want to play the normal map, they go this way. For those who have played it already, you can go this way and you get a whole different thing. Or for those who really, really want to see a whole different world, jump down into this crater, this whole new world. Yeah.
Brilliant. Amazing. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today.
Likewise.
I look forward to everything you do because it seems that you evolve and pivot all the time. So
Hopefully.
it could be something entirely different the next time we talk, which is
Yes.
phenomenal.
It could be
It's
VR. It
great
could
to
be
see.
VR. It could be VR.
It could be VR, hopefully for me, absolutely.
Yes.
Or we could be talking about the next movie you're doing with Sam Rockwell because you've plugged him here. He's bound to be watching. It's guaranteed. Amazing. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.